Good morning, guys. This is Dr. S. Prabhakaran, Assistant Professor, Department of Networking and Communication. So, in today's session, we are going to discuss some basic case studies or interview based questions on the topic UML State Chart Diagrams. Now, moving to the first question. Now, this is the scenario that is put forward to us. Now, considering a traffic light system with three states, that is red, yellow, green. Now provide a UML state diagram for this particular systems. You need to show the transition as well as the action associated with each state. Also, please describe how this particular system transition works between the states, right? Now, coming to the solution for it. Now we are going to see UML state chart diagrams. Okay, the better way we can illustrate with a classical example. Here we are going to demonstrate with the help of a traffic light system, right? Now fine, we all know that the traffic light system has three states: red, yellow and green, right? So based on these we are going to create the state chart diagram for this particular system, and what are the transition as well as the action that happens associated among all these states, right? Now initially we'll start with the initial state as red light, right? Now this is where our traffic light system begins. Now when it comes to state action, what is the state action that we are going to do? Now for each state as an associated action, we all know that, right? Now in the case of red light state, the action is to eliminate the red light. That's simple enough. Now coming to the transition, now from red light, okay, if it moves to the next part, that is the yellow light. Now this particular transition is triggered by the timeout event. Now how do we represent this duration of this red light? That we are going to represent as well as the action associated with this transition is to turn off the red light and turn on the yellow light. So that is given here. And the next part is the transition from red to yellow. So we will allocate some specific period of time. So with that particular time period, from red it will move into the yellow, the transition period, right? Now next transition is what? From yellow. Now from red to yellow, that has been done with some timeout event. Then we are going to transfer the state, that the transition from yellow to green light. Okay, again the same thing is triggered with some time quantum, right? So we will fix some time quantum. So based on that particular time quantum, yellow light will turn into green light, and that specified time will represents the system transitions. So finally we have a transition from green light back to red light, again from that particular state to the initial state, which is also again triggered by the timer. So basically it is a cascading of events, okay, which is purely based on the time quantum. So literally this completes our cycle. Also after a specified time period, that is from green light, the system transition again backs to the red light. So that's what it is given here in detail, how different states happening, how different states collaborate with each other, what is the time quantum, okay, key transition phase and all those things. A quick summary here: we need to understand what are states, what are transitions, and what are the actions involved in it, right? Now a quick recap of what are the states involved in this particular case study. The states that are involved are red light, yellow light and green light. And what is the transition that happens? First transition is what? From starting to the next state, that is from red to yellow, yellow to green, and again back from green to red. So these are the transition that happens, right? And finally, what is the action that happens? So action is what literally how we are going to eliminate this corresponding lights with each state. So these are the things that is explained here, right? Now moving to the second question. Now here the second question, what they have asked you to use a UML state chart diagram for a simple vending machine where the states such as idle, accepting coin and dispensing products, and the transition is triggered by event like coin insertion and product selection. Okay, so now we are going to define the action associated with each state, right? Now we will move into the part of it, right? Now on seeing this particular solution you can identify, right? Now we begin with our initial state idle, right? So assume that this is our vending machine where this particular vending machine starts. Now from the initial state we are going for the state action. Now we all know that the each state has an associated action, right? Now in the idle state no action is associated, so it is basically what in the form of resting state or idle. Now we will begin with our first transition. What is our first transition? Is triggered by some event. So the event is what? We insert some coin into the vending machine. Now automatically after inserting, the transition is moved from idle to next thing, what? Accepting coin. So this particular action associated with this transition is to begin a accepting coin, right? Now when a coin is inserted, right, the vending machine transitions to that particular state where it actively accepts coin. So okay, so that is the first transition what we understand from this thing. Now what is the second transition? The next transition is triggered by the product select event, right? What? Not only by inserting coin, again next thing is what? For product selection, right? So when we select this product selected event, moving from accepting coins to dispense the product, right? The particular action associated here is to begin dispensing the selected product. Now when a product is selected after the coins are accepted, the vending machine transitions to the state where the product is being dispensed. This is also another important thing that we need to understand. So that is our second transition. Now coming to the third transition. Now finally our transition is triggered by what? Product dispensed event. What is product dispensed event? That is moving from dispensing product back to idle, right? So here this associated action is to complete the transaction and return it to the idle state. Now after the product is been successfully dispensed, the vending machine the transition back to its idle state, right, and ready for the next transactions. So basically again it is like a chain reaction, it goes on and on. So this is the basic UML state chart diagram wherein which we highlight, okay, some key points representing what are the states that are being used, what are the transition that happen between the states, and what are the action that is involved which triggers this transition, right? So a quick recap, summing up the states. What are those states here? Yes, so things like idle is one state, accepting coin is another state, and dispensing product is another state, right? Now next thing, transitions. So what are the transitions here? First transition is coin inserted, that's what I explained, right? What are the actions involved and all these things. Next transition is the product selected, and the third transition is the product dispensed. And what are the associated actions with it? For coin inserted, it is accepting coin. For product selected, it is dispensing products, and for the product dispensed, it is completing this transaction. Okay, so this is the overview of our second problem. Now moving back to our last problem. Okay, so here we are asked to develop a UML state chart diagram for a multimedia player. The same thing with states like playing, paused, stopped, and all those things. Here we need to map, okay, between the transitions as well as the action, associated action that is happening, right? Now quickly we move into the part of it. Now our initial state is stopped. That is where our multimedia player begins, right? Now first the state transition. We all know that each state has associated action. Now in this case it is stopped state and there is no specific action. Now first we are move into the first transition. Now what is the first transition? It is triggered by a play event, that is moving from stop to play, right? So this particular action associated here is to start and playing the media. This is one of the important transition. Even that is the first thing. Where the play button is pressed, the multimedia player transition to state where it actively plays media. So it's literally when you hit play from stop, the media player starts playing. That is our first transition. Now the second transition, what is it? It is triggered by stop event, that is from playing to stop. Now if it is playing and if we want to stop, okay, so stop is another action. So when we hit stop, automatically the state from playing comes to stop, right? So that is the second transition. And the third transition, the third transition is triggered by pause event, that is moving from playing to pause. So when this particular action is done, so here the action here is to what? Pause the currently playing media. So basically when a pause button is pressed during the playback, the player transition to the state where the media is paused, right? And now we have a transition from pause to playing that is triggered by the play event. Also the action here is what? To resume playing the paused video. And important thing that you need to understand is that when the play button is pressed while in a pause state, the player transition again back to playing mode and resumes the media playback. So finally our final transition is triggered by the stop event, the very beginning where we start, right? Again moving from paused to stop. So this action will stop the playing media. It's very simple, right? So from this particular case study of multimedia player also, we need to understand three important things with respect to this UML state chart diagram. What are those things? Again, what are the states that are used, what are the transitions that is being used, and what are the associated action involved. So quickly summing up, what are the states that is used in this particular case study is stopped, playing, paused. The transition that happens are what? Play, stop, pause. And what are the action that are associated with respect to play means we can start playing. For a stop transition, the action that is implied or the event that is done is stop playing, and for the pause is pause, right? So the same thing is explained. Thank you.